Good evening and welcome to the August 29th, 2023 Common Council meeting. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Tauschek.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Matzdorf.
Here.
Gilson.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Here.
Penkwitz.
Here.
Shilsky. Nelson.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is a pledge. Please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second, Gilson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Matzdorf.
Yes.
Penkwitz.
Yes.
Tauschek.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Shilsky. Gilson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 4 is the audience portion where we ask people to sign in and be recognized, where you do the talking and we do the listening. This evening, no one signed in. We do encourage people to come forward and address the council with any concerns that they have. Item 5 is not needed. No items were removed from the consent agenda. Moving on to item 6, ordinance. Ordinance number 8, amending section 2-3-4 of the City of Plymouth Code of General Ordinances regarding the city attorney. I'll ask our city administrator, utility manager, Tim Blakesley, to give us a brief summary. Tim.
Sure. So per 2-3-4 of the municipal code, the common council appoints the city attorney on a 2-year term commencing May 1st of every odd-numbered year. Staff is recommending that the city attorney be appointed to an at-will term, which does require a code amendment, and that draft is attached. Prior to 2010, the city attorney was an at-will position. When Attorney Fieber began, it was changed to a two-year term. Changing the city attorney position back to an at-will term really allows council staff and Attorney Fieber to have a level of comfort with the established arrangement, and that arrangement is going to continue into the future. Should circumstances arise, and obviously hopefully they don't, the city needs to make a change at the attorney position. The revised ordinance and the ordinance as is written now allows the city to has the flexibility to make a change on an as-needed basis. It also eliminates the chance that the appointment will be overlooked over the every other year appointment cycle. So staff does recommend approving ordinance number 8, amending section 2-3-4 of the Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll make a motion that we amend section 2-3-4 of the City of Plymouth Code of General Ordinances regarding city attorney.
I'll second the motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Alder Hildebrand.
Yeah, I just don't see this for some reason. It just seems like another thing that's getting taken out of the alder's hands. And I actually take pride in stating to the people that we do believe in Crystal and Tim at the time, the last time he was brought up, that we appreciate what they're doing and we elect them into that positions. And it's only a couple minutes every 2 years. And they're taking that out of our hands and giving us that opportunity to say, good job, or, keep doing what you're doing, and let them know that the position is still there for them. The comfort zone I don't understand, because, you read the last part of it, there is no comfort zone if we move her anytime anyway, if something is up, Not that that's gonna happen, Crystal, because I respect you very much.
Thank you.
I just don't understand it, because we give the city, people that do watch that program and watch our council meetings, the opportunity to see that we believe in these people who sit with us and give us guidance, and understand that we put those people in that position, and I'd like to leave it like that. Just take a little pride in what we do.
Any other comments? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll on the motion, please.
Herman,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Shosky, Penquitz,
Yes.
Gilson,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Hildebrand.
No.
Motion carries. Thank you. Good discussion. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, new business. Item A, mayor hereby appoints to the library board Kathy Murray. This requires council approval. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the nomination of Kathy Murray to the library board.
Motion to approve Kathy Murray to the library board.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 7B, WPPI presentation. We have an update this evening, and I'll ask Administrator Tim Blakely to start the introductions and tell us what we have here.
Sure. So Plymouth Utilities is a member of WPPI along with 51 other local electric utilities. So Phil Hansen is here tonight from WPPI, and he's going to give us a 10 to 15 minute update from WPPI and a little bit about WPPI. We obviously have 3 new council members since the last time this presentation was done, so I think it's very helpful to learn a little bit more about Plymouth and WPPI.
Great.
Phil, please.
I'm Phil Hansen with WPPI Energy. I've been with WPPI over 30 years. My role there right now is Chief Information Officer, so I oversee the technology side of WPPI. The presentation I have today is Leading with Purpose. So I'll run through that. If you have any questions, please feel free to speak up. First slide here is WPPI by the numbers. For those of you that aren't that familiar with us, we're a joint action agency, and the city of Plymouth is one of the owners of WPPI, along with 50 other municipals in Wisconsin, Iowa, and Upper Michigan. Governed by this board of directors, each utility has a seat on the board of directors. That board of directors elects the 11-person executive committee, and they meet monthly, usually at WPPI, and direct our month-to-month business, similar to you do here in your city. Peak demand on this slide says 999 megawatts, but last week we just topped that. We're a little over 1,000 right now, about 1,050 megawatt peak demand. Have total assets of $751 million and an annual budget of $524 million. Our mission, next slide is our mission and vision on it. Our mission is really 3 parts. All 3 are helping member utilities accomplish more by working together for reliable, affordable, and responsible electricity. That's our power supply part. Forward-thinking services, and then effective advocacy. Vision is to have member utilities set the standard for locally owned utilities working together to help the communities thrive. We have many examples of that with WPPI and the members of WPPI. Our examples around the nation and leaders in what they're doing together through joint action. Attendance we have from Wisconsin and from all of you at things like the APPA rally in Washington, D.C. is great. Wisconsin utilities really represent very well there. We have technology services that the Joint Action Agency has put together that are the envy of a lot of other states. We'd like to model something like what you have at WPPI. So definitely meeting that vision there and looking forward to keeping that going. The next slide talks about our business plan a little bit. We put together a 5-year business plan. We're in the 2nd year of that business plan, and like I talked earlier, it's around those 3 key elements: reliable, cost-effective, responsive power supply, forward-looking services, and effective energy policy advocacy. 2023, we picked 3 initiatives that were our top initiatives for the year. One is resource planning. I'll talk a little bit more about that in some of the upcoming slides. The other is interconnection, solar interconnection specifically. Looking back a few years, we had about 300 rooftop solars in the whole WPPI footprint. Today we have over 1,300 rooftop solars. And we're seeing communities that are having a lot more of that put in. Now what happens there is it often puts a burden on the energy service manager and the utility staff of tracking those. There's a lot of work to make sure it's permitted correctly, make sure your line crews are safe because they put it in safe. Making sure they have insurance on that, and a whole lot of administration that goes behind that. So we're looking at software that can make that process easier, have the customers or the suppliers apply online, track them through the process of what solar they're going to put in. Is it UL certified? Making sure it meets all the needs, making sure that the permits are all in place. And then if they sell that home, making sure the next homeowner has the insurance and does the right things. That's a big initiative this year. Along with that, we put together a solar interconnection best practices manual that's available to all the members to help them know how to deal with solar if that comes to town. And what we see that happens fast often. A salesman comes to town, wants to sell rooftop solar, and pretty soon you have 30 or 40 applications. So that's been a big effort so far this year. We're looking forward to continuing that next year and trying to have something in place for the members to use. And then staff development's another big one we're focusing on this year. Among the senior staff, we have 5 people that report to Mike Peters, the CIO, and we have together 200 years of experience. So a lot of retirements coming up in the next, not in the next couple of years, but the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe a lot of retirements. We want to make sure we have that next generation of staff developed and ready to step into place there. Look at the next slide, talking about power costs. Obviously, power costs are always most important. Keeping reliable energy is very important, but also stable power costs. You can see the slide, we've had very stable power costs back in 2018, with the exception of 2022. We saw a lot of market anomalies there. We had the war in Ukraine start up, a lot of supply chain issues as we came out of COVID, drove the wholesale, the daily energy market over double. So over a double cost in that daily energy market. Our costs went up about 9.5% that year. Unfortunately, this year we saw some of those energy markets stabilize somewhat, and we're right back in line. So that decrease, and we're right back in line with those stable costs we've had in the last several years. Our diverse portfolio is one of the things that help us only have about a 10% increase in 2022 when the market doubled, to be able to have some stable resources that we have long term. The next slide talks a little bit about that, the one that says resources on it. Definitely believe in a diverse portfolio to keep prices stable. That's one of our main goals, is not to have year-to-year huge fluctuations. We have that 400 megawatts of our own resources, so those are really long-term resources. We have always strived to have no more than 10% of our needs in any one resource, so we have a diverse portfolio that way. And then we have staggered power purchases. For the remaining needs, we either do short-term market purchases, typically less than 10% is left to the short-term market, and the rest are long-term power purchase agreements, 10, 15, or 20-year type agreements. And then those we stagger, so they don't all end at one time. As you can see on the fuel mix from 2010, we've transitioned quite a bit into, when we look at 2022, a lot less reliance on coal, more on natural gas and renewables, and continue to head that direction. Next slide talks about diversity in location and fuels. Just like we want to have diversity in when contracts and in different units, we want to have diversity in fuels. So we have some coal, some wind, some solar, some gas, and also locations. We have wind in Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. The wind in Iowa, it's actually most windy in Iowa, and that's our best production units, but it's hard sometimes to move that energy into Wisconsin. So that's why we have that diversity. We have some in Illinois and some in Wisconsin, so we can balance that out, the risk of not getting full delivery and being able to generate more megawatts there. Point Beach Nuclear is our latest addition of solar. At the Point Beach Nuclear plant, we have 100 megawatts of solar that came online about a year ago. I'll talk a little bit about that in some upcoming slides. And that was an addition that addresses this next slide, environmental response. Solar was, we're at a great time. Solar was not only the most environmentally friendly resource, it was the lowest cost resource at the time. So we were able to add a carbon-free resource at the lowest cost, put us on track to lower our carbon emissions from 2005 to by 45% in 2025. Utilities typically go back, 2005 seems to be a base year that all the different utilities in the nation reference. And that's our target right there. By 2050, we have a goal of being carbon-free. We're going to also balance that with the goal of being reliable and being cost-effective. So we're going to make some strides towards that, but we're going to have to see some changes in technology also to make that happen. We're not going to be able to do that just with wind and solar. There's going to have to be other things out there. We're keeping our eyes open on how to do that and making sure we take advantage of what new technologies come about. Next couple slides here talk about some of the challenges we see with solar. It has some slides on the Point Beach solar output. 3 different, same solar farm here at Point Beach, 3 different days. One is a summer day, that red line. You show we have very steady 100 megawatts. Intermediate sun was a cloudy day. You have just a little shortage there, and cloudy, you get almost no output from that. So because of that change, we have to have other units to back that up. That's why we're cautious. We think it's great to have 100 megawatts in our mix. It would be hard to have 1,000 megawatts in our mix right now because of that intermittency of that. We see the same intermittency if you look at the next slide in summer and winter. Summer, obviously the sun's out a lot longer and we see a full 100 megawatts throughout the day. Winter, we have a much shorter period from 10 to 6 o'clock at night. We have some solar output, but not nearly what we see in summer. So again, we have to plan on having something in the winter to cover that. And then wind, the next slide is wind, also has its challenges. Shows you the difference between a windy day, a medium wind day, and a calm day. And so a lot of different output there. We were fortunate in this last heat wave that we just had. Wind did really well over the Midwest. We had a lot of wind over the footprint. And the power prices actually stayed very stable all last week. Next slide, keeping costs down, talks about our finances and our financial side of the business. We spend a lot of time making sure that we're getting the best interest rate on our bonds. We had an opportunity in 2023 to do a refinancing, so we refinanced $112 million of bonds, going to result in about $1 million savings for the next year, for the next 15 years. So definitely something that helps keep our rates down. And we're looking again at a possible refund in 2024. With some more comments. So that was my presentation. You see, expect continued strength as a joint action agency. Looking forward to serving the membership for the next foreseeable future. We'll be adding some reliable, affordable power as we see fit in the next couple of years. We have quite a few contracts that will be dropping off in the next few years, and we're always looking at new resources and what to put in place there. And continue setting the standard as a joint action agency that you can be proud of. Any questions on WPPI?
Do you foresee where hydrogen might enter the picture also, like, you know, like pump storage with water? You could store hydrogen to use during peak periods, possibly?
To get rid of carbon, we're going to have to do something to store energy, because you saw the intermittency. So pump storage is a great way to do that. Batteries are a great way to do that. They're both very expensive right now to do. Hydrogen's kind of in that same camp. It can be done, but it takes a lot of electricity to create the hydrogen, and you have to have enough difference between the cheap power to create it and then when you want to use it, the expensive power when you want to use it. I think it'll play a role, but I don't think it's going to play a role in the next 5 years. I think that's probably a 10 to 20 to 30 year technology.
Probably the same with fusion instead of...
Every company's been on the corner of having fusion happen for the last 25 years.
So it's probably going to be another 25 for that
It
too.
sure seems like that. There's a lot of companies doing a lot of things that are really neat, but they can never scale it up, is what I see. And that seems to be the issue. You can never scale up to what we need for mass deployment or something like that. That would be the holy grail if you found something like that. Change the world.
How do you recruit new members?
We're never actively recruiting, always in a passive mode. When I started at WPPI, we had 30 members. We grew to 51 over that time frame. We haven't added any for quite a while now. And it's really members that come on have to have a joint action mentality and a long-term commitment and long-term philosophy. We might not be the cheapest provider every year, but over the long term, we think we'll be the cheapest provider, and we'll have stable electricity. That's really what our goal is. So if you're a utility that wants to chase the market and have low costs at certain times, that philosophy doesn't always fit. And what happens is when they want to become members, it's because our costs are lower than the market, and at that time, it hurts all of you if we add members. So it's hard to bring someone on at that time. When our costs are high, they see the cheap market, and they don't want to join because they're near the cheap market. So it's, the stars really have to align to make that happen. We've been close with a couple members where we've had that point where we're about neutral on market costs and our costs, and may add some in the future. Not sure when that'll happen. We have branched out in the last couple of years. A big area of WPI is the technology services, advanced metering, billing, online customer portal. And we have started providing that service to some non-members at a upcharge to members as kind of a way to reduce member costs.
I think it's fair to say that they have to meet our standards to buy in. And they don't get to buy in on the low end.
Right, that's very true. We're not going to hurt the existing membership
Exactly.
that you built over the last
Yeah.
40 years. To bring someone in, right?
And in my tenure, there's been some discussion, but they have to live with the good and the bad. And they have to show, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, that their policies match WPPI.
Yeah, very true. The joint action philosophy is very
Yeah.
important. Working as
So
a group.
I don't remember any coming in a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, and it's,
The Upper Michigan were the last ones we added.
Right.
Upper Michigan and Iowa. So they had some circumstances where their power contracts were ending. They came on to WPPI and they were great members. They're very supportive and they believe in joint action.
yeah. But it could happen, but then, of course, the whole board would have to vote on it.
Yeah, it
And
is a board decision.
yeah, it's a board decision, yeah.
And it has to be advantageous for both sides.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we thank you very much for taking the time to come, and just a reminder to the council that we're at Blue Harbor in a couple weeks for the annual WPPI gathering that's there, and certainly it's always a good event to get some of the latest and most important information going forward and hopefully save us all some money.
Yeah, it's a great event to hear about the industry and just what's going on at WPPI. We do these meetings every other year with the governing bodies, and then alternating years we do regional dinners. So we'd love to see you guys next year at one of our regional dinners.
Sure. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. With that, the next item on our agenda is the closed item. Chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 per N1 per NE, deliberating or negotiating